Hallelujah. I want to talk about today 7 ways that Christ fulfilled Passover, the Jewish Passover, and how that through prophecy, through the book of Isaiah, and how it was established in the book of Exodus, chapter 12, about Passover. It was about 1446 years, according to what my Bible says, that Passover was established before Christ showed up. So it was a very well established. It was, shoot man, that's what, 10 times 12. No, it's 6 or 7 times older than the United States. Anyway, Christ, but he fulfilled this Passover, and I'm going to take one subject about Passover per day for the next 7 days, and we're going to talk about how Christ fulfilled this one. And the one today we're going to talk about is the crucifixion itself, how that Christ fulfilled the Passover lamb, and which was also prophesied by in the book of Isaiah 53:10, and how that it was almost an impossible thing that Christ would have been crucified on this particular day, because of it normally being a feast day and a day of celebration. The Jews weren't going to do something so erratic unless something had like forced them to do this, you know. And Christ had particularly gotten under their skin so bad that they didn't care when he was crucified. Just get him out of the way. And since it was Passover day, the day that the Father had picked, Christ had to be crucified on that day of that celebration, because normally the Jews, they put the blood of the lamb over the doorpost. They sit in the house and they consume the lamb. And one of the things that Christ told us, he said, "This is my flesh, take this and eat it. And this is my blood, take this and drink it." Because this is the blood that has to be applied to the doorpost of your heart. Okay? So, and we'll talk about that later. I don't want to get on that right now. The blood has to be applied. But this is how Christ fulfilled the Passover. Okay? It says, Isaiah 53:10 says, "Yet it pleased the Lord to bruise him. He hath put him to grief. When thou shalt make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand." Okay, and so it says there that he was made an offering for sin. Okay, and you go down through there and you can read before and after that. It was indeed talking about Jesus. Okay, and like we said, the Passover day had been established over 1400 years before Christ, and Christ continuously told his disciples that he must go up and be sacrificed, you know. And I don't think there's any place where Jesus actually said that he's going to take the place of the Passover lamb before it happened. But after you read everything that he had said and talked about, then you knew that that was exactly what he had in mind. But that's how subtle God is. God does those things in those subtle ways that we just don't get it. He said to some, he said, in seeing they might not see, and in hearing they might not understand. That's because, you know, he really don't want men getting so involved and letting the devil stir them up that they can hinder what he has to do. And you know what I've noticed? Jesus still does this thing today. He's still fulfilling the things that God has called him to do in our hearts and our life. The blood is still being applied to the doorpost of my heart. And I am still consuming this lamb every day. My wife does it. We had this Passover thing, this communion, and we want to take communion later on in the week. On Easter, it's not quite Easter yet, but we'll get this done. And we do this to show forth a remembrance of Jesus for what he has done, who he is, and how that Christ fulfilled the prophecy and forgives the sin. Christ proved that he forgives sin, you know. That's one of the other ways that he fulfilled the Passover. He said, which is it easier, you know, to do, saying to this man, arise and walk, or thy sins be forgiven. God bless you today. We'll get back with you again later when tomorrow we'll get more of this on, the number 2 way of how Christ fulfilled the Passover. God bless.